The League of the Genuine Conversations with me, Fred Mwema, is back. The only show on the planet that discusses the important but often ignored subject of counterfeits. We are back with yet another wide-ranging discussion on this very subject of counterfeits. The subject today is how do we leverage the law to fight counterfeits. Last week we discussed the computer misuse. Many people are making noise about it. We think that it has some good provisions. We think that anything that can help us to fight counterfeits must be used. Joining me in the discussion today is a lawyer, an intellectual property lawyer. I'll call him a senior lawyer because I think he's done more than 10 years. Mr. Andrew Oluka, you are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Fred. It's been a while. I've been wanting to join the show and sitting in these conversations for a while. I would say I'm lucky and privileged to be here today discussing an interesting topic that encompasses so many things that I've come to see, experience, read about, and learn about.
Andrew, you had me in my opening remarks that this is an important subject that is often ignored. Does that speak truth to you?
That's very, very true.
And why is it ignored?
Many times, many people can't easily relate with counterfeit because it stems from intellectual property, which is an intangible good. People still, especially down south here in Africa, in Uganda, where the prevalence of counterfeit is rising every other day. Because many people can't see and touch intellectual property, they then can't relate to what counterfeiting or the culture of counterfeiting is. And for me, a space like this is very important to try and shed more light into the vice that is counterfeit, that is eating into...
But Andrew, you say many people can't touch, feel, see intellectual property. Intellectual property is a creation of the mind.
That's very true.
But many people on a daily basis interface with intellectual property in very many forms. For example, many people dance to music, listen to music. That is intellectual property. So in other words, intellectual property has a face.
That's very true.
Many people, even right now, when we're doing this broadcast, there is a lot of intellectual property that is involved. The internet itself is a creation, is an invention of somebody. So do you want to skew it a bit different and give intellectual property a face?
To a mind like yours and mine that have related with intellectual property at a great length, now we can easily discern where intellectual property is placed. For instance, that flower there is...
We can use this one here.
Like we could use this
particular breed.
Absolutely.
Somebody went to the lab, got some tissue culture, and created this variety.
And created this variety, and that's intellectual property.
So it is visible.
It is very visible to...
So is the problem that we don't understand it in the form of property? We think that property is land, property is an arcade, property is a house. We don't think this is property.
Property is a brick. Property is not in a song that I listen to, because to me, the radio is the property, not the song that is airing. So it's a bit of that, confusing to some people. But fortunately, the industries are beginning to recognize the importance of intellectual property. Brand owners, brand protection agencies are rising up. People are beginning to leverage the weight of their brands to make money, to commercialize them.
We as lawyers are blamed for keeping this knowledge to ourselves and not helping the ordinary wananchi out there to understand things. There is somebody who sent me a very, very interesting post here, and they were saying that certain celebrity had been sued for posting a picture of themselves on Snapchat and Facebook by the cameraman who photographed them. because the cameraman alleged that
He
they
owned
were
it.
infringing on the copyright. Can you just explain to the audience how you can get sued for posting your own picture because I took the picture?
Maybe
Explain what intellectual property is that?
maybe using the picture. Let me expound it. We have a number of institutions that delve in research work. Oftentimes we find, because research is a cumbersome and expensive venture, oftentimes we have international bodies or institutions that are willing to lend funding towards this research. So you sit down, you create, you come up with content, and then you pass it on to your funder. Now, many of these funders, what they do is they sign you up on an agreement where they own all the intellectual property that is contained in that research. So even you, the author of the research, can't reproduce it without the permission of the person who has given you the money. Okay?
Okay, that is published works, research work. But a picture, first of all, a picture is what kind of intellectual property?
There are processes here. The person who takes the picture, okay, has an interest in the act of taking the picture. The person photographed has an interest in the image that is contained in the picture. So at what point do we determine who owns what rights over the picture? It's a very interesting scenario, and I would love to know what the claim by the photographer is, because if I hired you to perform a service for me, which is you perform the service of taking the picture, that means
that is commissioned work, I think.
Yes.
If I hire somebody for my event to do the video and to take the pictures, the video and the pictures are mine.
Yes.
But if somebody is a random photographer, Andrew, you're walking on the streets and somebody just takes a nice shot of you in the mall.
Yes.
Who owns that picture? It is you in the picture, but the guy who has produced it and put it in a fixed form is not you. You didn't pay him. It is his work, but of you. Would you say, because the Copyright Act is called the Copyright and Other Neighboring Rights Act.
Yes.
I saw what you are trying to say, that there is a band of rights,
yes,
that produces this final product. The publisher is there, the producer is there, the distributor is there, everybody, and then the performer. In this case, the performer is you, who was walking and taking that stride and that look. So you have a right as well. So if you get sued, maybe you also counter sue and say, I have a share to that picture, supposing it was used on Forbes magazine.
It becomes very tricky for the photographer, especially to assert his rights. For instance, we see magazines that commission photo shoots, okay, and then in this case there is the magazine that is going to run the publication. There are the photographers, and then there are the models. Okay, oftentimes the magazine has all the rights, so it can use your picture in whichever form it wants. You're paid for the service of modeling. The photographer is paid for the service of taking the pictures. Now, I struggle to find how this photographer, first of all, who takes your picture, supposing the picture is taken without your consent.
It's random. You are in public walking,
Without
and somebody
your consent.
took a nice picture, and then you get access to the picture and you make it your...
Because you like the picture.
You like the picture, and then somebody says, maybe there are other exceptions, Andrew. Sometimes for these celebrities, they sign up with agencies that own their image rights.
That's very true.
Okay, so in such a case, the publication of any image of that signed up artist must be with the authorization of the agency, which must be paying some some fee,
some royalties to you for using your image. That's why celebrities need to consult lawyers like you, Fred Mwema, to be able to guide them on some of these things, because then you need to have a revenue share agreement or an image rights share agreement, because if I can't even use my image for my own benefit and yet you're using it to market, it's a bit of It's a bit of touch and go here, because you have personal interest in seeing your image and enjoying
Then
it.
you should take selfies. But now, Andrew, let's get out of the
Celebrity
world
world.
of celebrity world, and let's bring it down now. This is a show to promote awareness on counterfeits. Andrew, I met you in Kampala here some 12, 15 years ago, but you come from somewhere. If there is anybody from Teso, Kabaramaido, Kumi, who is listening to you, they may not understand your discussion so much on the rights to a picture, but they are facing real problems, real challenges with counterfeits. Speak to the people of Teso on the issue of counterfeits. Is there a problem of counterfeits in Teso?
There is a problem of counterfeit in Teso, and I will tell you, and I will answer this in a story. About 2 weeks ago, I went to visit my grandmother up country, and as you may be aware, there is a bit of a famine problem in the eastern part of the country, especially Karamoja and the bordering areas, which is exactly Teso. So in my conversation with my grandmother, and we were talking about how food security is becoming such a problem today, she told me of, in the past, they used to have a brand of cassava which could stay even 5 years in the garden. All they would do is to cut off the stems and let it be in the garden. It could spend as many as 5 years, and for them, that is how they secured their food for the future. So even
it wouldn't rot?
It would not rot. And her major complaint was that there have been new varieties that they are introducing within the Teso region that is ready for use after 3 months.
You plant one season, it grows very fast.
In 3 months' time, it's ready to be eaten, but it rots as quickly as it germinates. So in a space of about a week, it is useless.
It rots?
Yes. Okay. And yet,
when it matures, it rots.
When it matures and you get it out of the garden, its storage becomes difficult because it decomposes in a space of almost a week or two. It's done.
So you're supposed to harvest and cook all the cassava and do a village party.
And yet, in Teso, this is how we preserve our food. We dry it. Okay. So once you've harvested, for instance, cassava, once you've harvested it, you break it up and then you dry it and you put it in your granary. You can have it there for as long as a year, and you're able to pick some, grind into flour and make atap, which we enjoy in Teso and things like that. So that's how they secure their food. Today, if you ground the cassava that is being planted and that is being offered for planting in Teso, it attracts weevils. Basically,
but Andrew, that is interesting, because I think the policy consideration for getting improved plant varieties, okay, is one, to boost food production.
That's true.
And a lot of these varieties are supposed to be pest resistant.
That's very true.
So does your grandmother say that this variety was it given to her by the local leader, by the politician? Is it from government? Is it from some traders? And what happened to the other renewable resource of the cassava, where you harvest and plant a shoot and it grows again?
Like you rightly point out, the new varieties are targeting drought-resistant, pest-resistant crops and fast-growing crops. Actually, a lot of emphasis is on fast-growing crops. Plant it in 3 months, it's ready to harvest. Her cry is that why don't we have our varieties from the past? For instance, today in Teso, if you want to plant potatoes, Teso is famous for yellow potatoes. I remember my grandma.
Sweet potato or
sweet
Irish?
Potatoes, yes. Irish doesn't grow in Teso.
The
Sweet
yellow
potato,
ones, yeah.
the yellow ones. Teso is famous for them. I remember I had to send someone all the way to Serere from Kumi to go look for the vines that produce that yellow,
the original
yellow variety of sweet potatoes, because the ones that are there now that were supplied under all these programs that the government has put in place, produce white sweet potatoes, which are not easily relatable to the people in Teso. So some of these programs need to understand
The culture.
the different food cultures of different societies before you start to supply produce to them for plowing, for planting.
But
and
Andrew,
things
so
like that.
what would then incentivize, motivate the locals to abandon the yellow sweet potato vine and go for the new one? Is it because it is cheaper? There must be a benefit, because you can't abandon something good and then you go for a fake one.
Two things: ignorance, but also commercialization. A lot of it is planted, and because it grows quick, you easily sell it off. Okay, so because you're looking to
make some quick back,
for quick returns, you easily sell it off. So you're easily attracted to the new varieties because you're sure in a space of 3 months you're harvesting. Yet originally, sweet potatoes in Teso would take up to 4-5 months before harvest. Okay, so because this is fast growing, you're easily attracted to it, and there are truckloads waiting to load up and bring to Kampala.
So are you saying that the modernization of agriculture in a way is allowing a seepage of fakes? Because this whole thing of getting fast growing varieties is part of the modernization of agriculture. Are you against modernization of agriculture?
I am not against modernization of agriculture, but it's also not a secret in this country that many of these offers that are being made to the farmers towards modernization of agriculture have turned out to be fake. We had stories of fake bankers being distributed in Gulu. Our press is riddled with stories of fake seeds being given to farmers for planting. This is not news. This is everywhere. So there is someone within the chain of distribution that is looking to undercut the good intention.
We're back with the second segment of the League of Genuine Conversations. Here we are discussing how to leverage the law in fighting counterfeits. We are here with Mr. Oluka. Mr. Oluka, you broke off by suggesting that the food situation, which has some fakes, the potatoes and so on in Teso with your grandmother, could have been spurred by ignorance. But hearing a lawyer saying ignorance can be a defense or an excuse, when we say ignorance of the law is not a defense. Can you tell us this ignorance that you're talking of, is it a defense for us to have counterfeits in our agriculture, in the market? Are you saying there's an exception? Because people might be confused now. Is ignorance a defense?
Ignorance is not a defense, and it shouldn't be a defense, because there is vast knowledge everywhere regarding fakes and counterfeit products and things like that. The ignorance here is in the end user, who does not have the means to ensure the genuineness of some of the products that are being given to them. For instance, if seeds are brought under a government project, let's talk of say NADS, and they are supplied to farmers. I mean, people have a lot of trust in the government. Who is going to doubt what the government has supplied them? So they are ignorant to that extent. However, the person supplying these fakes cannot feign ignorance, because you clearly know what you're doing. Okay, you clearly know what you're doing. A farmer deep down in my village, my grandmother, would probably have no means of verifying and ensuring that the products she's getting is genuine.
So for us here on this platform, we may not necessarily have ignorance as one of the causative factors of this menace we have. We have what we call negligence. There is negligence on the part of the consumer, there is negligence on the part of the regulator, there is negligence on the part of the brand. Basically, there is all-round negligence.
That's right.
Andrew, we have Dankani, which is an acronym that sums up the drivers of counterfeiting. What to you drives the point home most among those drivers?
Affordability. if you realize that most counterfeiters, what they are targeting is to provide something cheaper as compared to the genuine product, to undercut what the person who has invested money in research, who has invested money in production, is selling their produce for. So for me, the biggest driver of counterfeits is affordability on both ends. Affordability of the consumers, because you're buying at a cheap, and affordability of the counterfeiter because you're manufacturing at a cheap.
When you say affordability, can you clarify? Is it affordability of the cost of purchase or affordability of the cost to your life? Because you may buy something cheaply and you buy it and it injures you, you lose your life. Can you afford that? Can you speak in terms of affordability, the economic sense and the health sense? What affordability are you talking about?
The economic sense, the amount you spend purchasing. And unfortunately, you don't realize that you will pay a lot more in trying to heal yourself from the effects of counterfeit, because whereas it appears very affordable when you're purchasing it, it's extremely expensive after you've consumed it.
So isn't it possible that we should therefore give this affordability factor a proper context? A poor person cannot afford to lose their life. They don't want to lose their life. I don't think it's correct to say that they can afford to kill their children. Nobody wants to injure their children. Nobody wants to eat food and have a running stomach the whole night. You can't afford that. So doesn't maybe the affordability, because we have another ground, which is concealed danger. Maybe what you want to say is that these factors don't act individually.
That's very true.
Dankani applies in combination.
That's very true.
So you might say affordability in terms of cost, but what drives that affordability for you to think you can afford that thing is because you don't know the concealed danger.
Now, the concealed danger is more to the counterfeiter, because he's the one who conceals the dangers. He peddles it to you that this is easily affordable, it's as good as the branded material that you're looking for, while concealing the dangers that is going to hurt you. I have a friend who purchased a shirt online, okay? And the first time they wore it, they developed a terrible skin disorder, okay? And whereas it was fanciful, interesting to go buy something online and get it shipped to you at the comfort of your chair, the impact was a different one, because he spent a lot of money treating his skin eventually.
But do you think the shirt manufacturer knew that that would have been the result of producing the kind of shirt he produced? Don't you think the motive for the counterfeiter is just profit, to make money, but not to kill?
Of course, the motive
harm?
of course the motive of the counterfeiter is to make money. That is why they invest very little to put a product on the market. You don't concentrate on research, you don't concentrate on
public health
safety, you don't concentrate on better production methods, you don't concentrate on ticking all the boxes to ensure that what you're putting out there is good for consumption.
So don't you therefore agree that this factor of concealed danger applies both to the counterfeiter and the victim of the counterfeit? The counterfeiter in most cases wouldn't know that what they are going to do, what they are going to produce will harm. For them, they just think it is a smart way of producing and they are going to make some quick buck. If a counterfeiter knew that they are going to produce a drug or a tire that kills, then that means they would be having, that it would kill, then that means they would be having a criminal element if it leads to death, and that would be murder.
Malice aforethought.
Yes.
Okay. Counterfeiters think they are distanced from their produce. However, these things somehow have a way of coming back to you. I'll give you an example of someone who sells, let's say, pesticides down at Container Village, and you're selling counterfeited pesticides
that cause respiratory
to a
issues to children.
to a tomato farmer, say in Luero. And this farmer goes, sprays these pesticides onto his tomatoes and brings them back to Nakasero market. Tomorrow your wife goes to Nakasero market to buy the same tomatoes. So you've unintentionally brought counterfeits right back into your own house.
So Andrew, who should we be targeting with these programs? Who should we be targeting to get a behavior change? Do we need a behavior change for the counterfeiter as well? We need to educate him as well, or we throw him away? Or do we just educate the consumers? Or do we educate the brands? Because some of the brands also are negligent and ignorant about some of these things. Should an anti-counterfeit awareness campaign be targeting across the board, or we should cherry pick?
The challenge we face with this conversation against counterfeit is that the prevalence is widespread. It's cross-cutting. You can't single out, for instance, a consumer and say, I'm going to educate the consumer on the dangers of counterfeit, and leave out, let's say, the brand owner, because then the brand owner is the one who knows the DNA of his product, and leave out the counterfeiter, because the counterfeiter needs to be brought on the table to appreciate the dangers of what he's putting out in the public. So I would say that this is something that needs to cut across. Everybody needs to be educated. Everybody needs to get involved in the conversation about counterfeit, because it affects all of us. You might say, I'm only going to shop branded products from, let's say, authorized dealers. But your kids go to school and interact with other children. Do their parents also shop from branded owners, authorized outlets? No, they don't. Their parents shop from where every one of us shops from. The issue of tomatoes, there are no separate markets for tomatoes. We all get tomatoes from Nakasero and our local markets. So however much you try and shield your eyes and say, for me, I'm not affected by this conversation, it's right there where you are. You could be walking in a building and someone has used, say, fake cement, and you slide and fall. You've interacted with counterfeit. So it's a conversation that we need to have across the board.
One of the key considerations when you are in the marketplace as a consumer, of course, when you go to buy a product, you have already made up your mind what product you want.
Exactly.
So its identity, its description, its specifications, what you want
for,
is known to you.
Yes.
But now we have a problem that the genuine and the fake look the same. So when you reach the market, two products, one fake, one genuine, all fit your description. They look alike, the price is the same, and things are being made worse by the online sales, where you interface with a name. Okay, they could have a name, but you interface with a seller that you actually cannot see. Okay, so can you paint some picture on how the difficulty, the challenge of differentiation between genuine and fake is being compounded by these online sales?
That's why I said in this conversation that it cuts across, including brand owners, because then the brand owner is the one who can be able to tell you the DNA of his product. But the online market has created an avenue whereby at the comfort of your chair, comfort of your home, you can easily order something from wherever across the world and have it delivered. It's a bit of just waiting time for you before you get your product. So you're basically interfacing with faceless merchants. You don't know who he is, you don't know where they are, you don't know where they are seated, okay? And all this is enabled by all these e-commerce platforms, Amazon, eBay, Jumia, to mention but a few.
Are those platforms taking away the power of feel, touch, smell? Because online, you cannot smell, you cannot touch,
you cannot.
So they are taking away.
You cannot converse with the person selling to you.
Maybe even you cannot see, because you're seeing there's a glitter.
Pictorial.
So online sales are taking away. We have what, 7 senses or 10 senses now? The perception, the way we perceive things, has been interfered. There's a screen in the middle.
In summary, online markets have taken away the human touch in a transaction. If I want to buy a shirt, I want to look at it, I want to touch the material, I want to feel it, I want to...
If you buy a shirt online, how do you try it on?
I want to even try it on and see that it fits the
Do they have a changing room for online?
Unfortunately, no, you just get...
How do
you just get a description. It's white in color, the collar size is this, the chest size is this, it has this length, the arms are this length. If those fit your specification, then this is the shirt for you. Okay.
So this online, this digital market, you think it is causing more harm than good?
A bit of,
and just promoting consumerism?
A bit of both. It's convenient. And
it's convenient for you to access a fake.
As human beings, we all love convenience. It's convenient in that I can get whatever I want from whichever part of the world.
Is it convenient for you to order for a product and you get the wrong product? Is that convenience?
I am coming to that. The attraction is the convenience. The attraction to the... And by the way, one of the things that the pandemic has driven us to is to the online market. Because today, if you remember during the pandemic, you could literally order everything, including your breakfast, lunch, and supper, at the comfort of your house, and it would be delivered to you. All you needed was an app to a restaurant or to an online merchant like Jumia Food, for example, or Simba Food, and the food would come to the comfort of your house, because we had the restrictions, travel restrictions, and things like that. So the convenience is the attraction, the fact that you can sit wherever you are and get what you want. The danger here is that you don't know what you're getting. Okay? So whereas it's convenient to, at a click of a phone, at a phone call, to get what you want, the danger is that you're not sure what is coming your way.
But Andrew, we are not saying that all online sales are fake. We are not certainly saying that. I think what we want to put across is that if you are a trader, if you are a brand, please serve us online, but serve us with genuine products.
And not just the brand owners, even online platforms need to take responsibility. Previously, online platforms hid from the fact that they were merely an enabler, bringing the vendor and the purchaser together. And to them, they had no means of ensuring quality, variety, and things like that. However, that course is beginning to turn. There have been a number of cases now reported where, not just reported, they have
decided
cases by courts, where courts have held online platforms liable for counterfeit products.
They have a responsibility to ensure that the quality...
Because the online platform is responsible for the marketing of the product, for putting out the advert for the product.
But you're not the manufacturer.
You're not the manufacturer. But you should work with the manufacturer to ensure
that the goods are safe.
Whatever the manufacturer is putting out, or whatever the vendor is asking you to upload on your platform to offer to you or to anyone else, is genuine.
Or in the list, the platform must ask for an indemnity from the supplier of the product.
In case of return.
So that if Andrew sues for a fake watch or whatever Apple product, then the problem now is that the manufacturer is not the genuine brand owner. He's a faker. So when you take the product, the Apple product, back to Apple, Apple will say, we've never manufactured this, we don't know it.
And that's why...
You see the trick there?
And that's why the Supreme Court in California and the US, in one of the famous cases against Amazon, held Amazon liable for
failure to verify.
For failure to verify these products.
We're back with the third segment of the League of the Genuine Conversations. I am here with Mr. Andrew Oluka, an intellectual property lawyer, a sports commentator and lover.
Sports enthusiast.
Sports enthusiast. You actually play a sport, or you are just... you see, in life, there are three kinds of people.
Okay.
Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen,
and those who do
and those who wonder what happened. Okay. So in terms of sports, do you watch... do you make it happen? Do you watch, or you wonder what has happened?
I embody all the characters in different sports.
I know you are a football fanatic. You play football, you apart from supporting Arsenal now, you Arsenal supporters, I don't know whether you're genuine supporters or fake, because you see, you're supposed to be a supporter throughout.
You see, the conversation about Arsenal right now is that if there is world war and everything comes to a freeze, Arsenal will be declared champs because they're on top of the table.
If the war in Ukraine spreads to England,
Absolutely.
you'll be champions.
Arsenal will be champions.
So you are warmongers.
No. We're just eager to be champions. Okay, Arsenal fans are eager to be champions. Not that I support Arsenal, but yeah, I do play a lot of sport. In fact, lately I've taken into boxing. It's quite an interesting
What
sport.
is it? You want to revenge the loss of Deontay Wilder against Tyson Fury or what? Why would you risk?
Predominantly, I played football as a mechanism, as a way of working out, exercising, and the likes. But you know, as you grow older, the legs are not the same as previous and things like that. So you need to find other ways of keeping your body fit and healthy. And trust me, you need to try out boxing. It's quite interesting and intense.
And intense.
Yes.
Okay, before I try it out, can you speak to us about counterfeits in sports?
The sporting industry has not been spared from counterfeit. There is a famous Brazilian footballer called Carlos Kaiser. He's known to have played and signed professional contracts for about at least 8 clubs. Clubs including Fluminense, Flamengo, Botafogo, Vasco da Gama. All these are big clubs in Brazil. The catch here is that he's never played a football game for any of those clubs.
How did he sign then? Who was signing? Who was there on the day of signing?
He was a very good counterfeiter. He could talk his way into any president's office and get a contract. But whenever required to play, he always had an injury. He was perennially injured. It's very,
Sure, it's for real. The name again is?
Carlos Kaiser.
Which years were these?
Carlos Kaiser is about 59 now.
And he never played a match?
Not a single game.
But he had contracts.
In fact, was never tired. So basically how he mastered his art was to befriend top players within the club and be within their group and things like that, feigning his injuries, but getting along with hanging out with top players. So he could easily walk into another club and tell the club owner, especially when the club owner gets irritated by the fact that I had a top striker who is not playing for me, what's happening, and you cut him off, he could easily walk into...
But Andrew, how do you be a top striker without a record? Because by the time you come to a club, you are the president of a club, and I tell you I'm a top striker, you need me, I have a record.
At the time Kaiser was mastering his craft, all this recordation, TV cameras, internet and the likes were not very prominent. So most players were signed by word of mouth or recommendation from someone who would allege to have seen you play. You need to find that story, by the way, and it's very interesting.
Okay, but fast forward to the internet age.
Yeah.
Do we still have counterfeits and faking in sports?
Some of the biggest products offered for sale, especially on the online platforms, are sporting memorabilia. A lot of it is being
merchandising.
offered. Even just, for instance, I could wake up one day and concoct that I have, let's say, Michael Owen's winner's medal when Liverpool won the Europa League. Okay? And I'm putting it up for sale. I set up a website and say I'm selling this product, I have it, and put it out there and engage a bidding war, and somehow I will find someone to buy it. Okay? But of course there's all these replica jerseys, shoes.
No, like that issue of the medal. Michael Owen is a commentator. And so if you say I have Michael Owen's medal and you post it online, do you tag Michael Owen like for authenticity?
I'm a counterfeit. I don't have to tag Michael Owen. I just have to find stories that are close to Michael Owen and make it believable.
No, but if I access this online, can't I, if I'm a follower of Michael Owen, for example, isn't there a way, my question therefore is, isn't there a way of verifying?
Because of the avalanche of internet content, you can't verify everything. I could create For instance, you would be shocked one day if you say Googled yourself and find someone else passing off as a Fred Mwem somewhere in Latin America or in Costa Rica.
Identity theft.
Oh yes, passing off as a Fred Mwem, and they live every day of their life as a Fred Mwem.
Online.
Yes.
Not in the real world.
It's
in the real world, it could be somebody else.
It could be someone else. It's very, very possible because there is too much internet content and you can't verify everything.
But Andrew, do you think that the need to win, because sports is competitive and sports athletes are pushed to the limit to win, to be a champion, everybody is outdoing the other to, do you think that competitive spirit and then the commercialization is what is pushing the sport to faking?
Add the invention of sports science into sport, because today there's a lot of science that has invaded the sporting space. Athletes are no longer purely playing based on talent. There are a lot of things. If you read up on, for instance, LeBron James, who is probably going to go down as one of the greatest basketballers to ever play the game, it is said he spends about $2 million of his own money on his body, in terms of dieting, in terms of all these supplements to ensure that his body performs at the optimum. Now that's a window for anyone who is looking to counterfeit. I will tell you for a fact that a number of Ugandan athletes, especially footballers, are taking supplements to enhance muscle growth and things like that, and without any iota of knowledge as to where it is coming from. Just because someone made mention of it, you pick it up from a supermarket or a pharmacy and you're busy ingesting. So that's a window. Sports science.
But don't you think you're overstretching it? Because if a player who looks after his body scores a goal, is there a supplement for scoring a goal? Are you saying all these goals Arsenal is scoring, somehow they are induced? I see real talent. We see Saka, for example, doing his thing, and you saw that goal of Partey, for the 5-0 drubbing of Nottingham.
For instance,
you see a supplement there.
For instance, especially in Europe, between the ages of 17 and 18, their athletes are put on specific supplements. They are not illegal. But the opportunity is in coming down to Africa here and telling an athlete here that you see Ronaldo's body, I can give you supplements to make you exactly like Ronaldo. So a counterfeiter uses that window.
But for the reason that the supplements are not banned by law, they are cleared by the drug authority, by the health authorities, and they sell.
Some of them have health hazards. I know, for instance.
Yes, but I'm saying if they enhance performance, because I know there is doping.
Doping is a different story. Doping is...
So if it's not doping and somebody is improving his diet, what's wrong with that?
There is nothing wrong with that. The point you're missing here is that because of sports science, counterfeiters have invaded that space. Sports science is a very good thing. I mean, just imagine, last year alone, Liverpool played 63 games. Okay? That is an average of 2 games per week. It's inhumane for a body to go through that beating. So sports science helps you be able to perform at that level. However, the problem here is that because it's now lucrative, interesting, and more appealing to athletes to perform at optimum levels, counterfeiters have slid into that space, especially in areas where it's difficult to find genuine products. Counterfeiters have slid into that space.
So are you saying that we also have fake dietary supplements?
Absolutely. I have a friend who took supplements and has been trying. His body basically blew up. He's been trying to cut weight. Trust me, he's 5 times fitter than I am because of the things he does to try and cut his body. But because of the supplements, his body doesn't go in well.
No, he should get the supplements for cutting weight. He's taking the wrong ones, I think.
No, he stopped taking the supplements, but at the time, because you see, supplements, especially for athletes, if you're looking to enhance body growth, you're supposed to take them within a particular age, 17 to 22, because your body is still growing, and then you can shape your body after that. Okay, but if you start to take them when you're 25, you're approaching your 30s, because you think you need to put on a bit of more muscle to be competitive and things like that, then you
but Andrew, there is the sports science or technology is taking cheats out of football, for example. Goalline technology is helping to resolve that dispute.
Okay.
Whether the ball crossed the line or
the famous story of Liverpool and Chelsea, ghost goal, if you remember.
Yes, I do remember that. We have a lot of divers, people who will feign an ignorance because of the technology. You zoom into the incident and you're able. So sports technology, I think, is helping to take out the fakes and give us a genuine product.
That's true if you look at it from a sports purist point of view. Technology has taken away the thrill in sport. For instance, a goal is scored and I have to wait 2 minutes to confirm if it's a goal or not.
So you take the punch out of
the joy, the thrill of seeing a goal being scored, or the after-game argument as to whether it was a goal or not.
No, but what happens, it just increases the suspense. You know what usually happens now? When they are checking whether it was a goal or not, we celebrate several times. We celebrate when it's scored, then we are held on a spell for 2 minutes, and then we burst into celebration.
We're up again.
2 minutes later. So it's making the celebration longer, and the tension, and isn't that a good thing?
Well, depends on how you look at it. To a sports purist, I can't share the same joy when I see it once and it is gone, and I know I enjoyed the elation. Now, I see it once, I celebrate, then I'm like, I go through the motions of wondering, is it going to be chopped off? Is it going to be confirmed?
And then eventually when it's confirmed, I double celebrate.
And then when it is cancelled, I die.
So you are saying that the modernization of the handling of the game might, in a way, be denying us of the original thing.
The original thrill.
Especially for these contact sports.
Absolutely.
Where the emotion, the experience is...
Unfortunately, sport, unlike everything else, can't run away from technology because we're in a technological world. So we can't run away from all these things. There are intentions to experiment with, for instance, robotic line judges for football games. In the future, we shall have robots refereeing games, not human beings. Yeah, so...
But as an African football enthusiast, you might as well want to say, well, because of all these things, that's why Africa has never taken no African country has taken the World Cup. These guys are playing all the tricks and the games. But if we go back to our roots and do the original thing, you think Africa can take the World Cup?
Luckily for African football fans, especially those who follow African football, technology has not yet invaded our sports scenes in terms of, I think Goalline technology is only used in South Africa and a bit of Egypt. The rest of Africa, I think, hasn't gone that far. But we also have our own sports technology called witchcraft, which we...
Yes, but Andrew, somebody may argue
that you
rather deal with a machine than deal with a linesman and a ref who can be corrupted. We have so many scandals of bribery in our football.
Human error is part of our
human
lives.
vice, human corruption.
Human error is part of our lives, part of our DNA, and it is part of the fabric in the society. Yeah.
So you feel that the fakes in counterfeit are just like any other sector that is affected by counterfeits will take a concerted effort. There is no one bullet, magic bullet that
there is no
sort
one,
it out.
there is no one shoe fits it all, because whereas for instance in the music industry a lot of faking was done by piracy in CDs and DVDs and stuff like that. Today we have online streaming platforms, some of which do not pay the content producer to stream their product.
They are pirates. They are also stealing.
They're basically just streaming free of charge. You pay a small fee, you log on to a site, and you're able to stream
and
whatever
you steal
you want.
the music.
Yeah.
Andrew, I'm told that it is time up. It has been a pleasure to host you. Any message to the viewers?
The fight against counterfeit is one that requires the input of everyone, wherever you are, in your homes, at your workplace, in your businesses. If you are alive to the vice of counterfeit and you're preaching the gospel according to let's change from using counterfeit products and peddling them and selling them to our markets, it's the only way we can beat that vice. Otherwise, if you shield your eyes and believe that you're insulated from this vice, it will find you where you are. It will find you in your home, in the food you ingest, in the medicine you take, the buildings you climb. I mean, Fred, we have you know of the story of Lotus Towers that has been shut down. Lotus Towers that has been shut down because of structural
issues, cracks.
Structural issues and fragility. So counterfeit will find you wherever you are. You can't run away from it. You could be walking by the roadside and a border guy runs over you. Not because he didn't want to brake, but because the brakes didn't work.
Okay, thank you so much. We've been hosting Mr. Andrew Oluka, an IP lawyer, a sports lover, as you've heard, a farmer who has been giving us his own version and experience with counterfeits, but from the perspective of leveraging the law to fight counterfeits. As usual, would like to thank you for being a good audience. We appreciate your supporting us, subscribing, tuning in, making a date with us every Friday, sharing those videos that you feel have made an impact to you, and basically being a good consumer who is interested in their safety and well-being. Would like to sign off by asking you to always buy genuine and not be fake.